All right, welcome back to the Day One Podcast, guys. Tonight we're going to talk about something a little different than shooting. We're going to talk about fitness tonight. We're going to talk about fitness for those that maybe go to a CrossFit gym and do kind of programming on the side, or if you go to you do maybe workouts in your garage gym, or you're doing your own programming. So we're going to kind of go over programming, how to add volume to programming, what that should look like if you're programming for yourself. Or how to add some programming on the top of currently what you're doing. So, Jared, do you want to kick us off?
Sure. So, really, even in tackle game space and CrossFit, so obviously we're in Rattler CrossFit right now doing this podcast. So, Jake, you used to have Rocket CrossFit. Mm-hmm. Janae has coached at many gyms, Mayhem, this gym. I'm sure others. I don't know. Some others prior, yeah. But we have all been in contact with hundreds of different people, mm-hmm. and definitely noticed trends within that, both spawning from people that are, just off the couch and getting into working out with a lot of enthusiasm, to people that have been working out and now they want to compete. So they're upping their compete, whether it be like a local CrossFit competition, compete tackle games, compete high rocks, compete, just fill in the blank. Mm-hmm. They're looking to do a little bit more than what the gym's programming, or like Tackle Games has the Tackle Games training. It's mm-hmm. Hepner's program, mm-hmm. very good program. To if you're doing that in your garage, but you want to do some extra stuff, what should that look like? How should you responsibly add in volume to that, and how to go about it. Mm-hmm. Right. So I'm about to catch Janae off guard. So she loves it. Deer in headlights in 5, 4, 3. So let's say that I have been doing CrossFit for 3 years. I found the Tactical Games. Mm-hmm. I need to get stronger, and I'm going to start doing back squats on Monday. What are the problems? Every Monday I'm doing back squats now.
Yeah. So the problem with that is you could be crossing over stimulus and wear and tear on your body with whatever your normal CrossFit programming is. So say you want a back squat on Monday, but you have a squatting workout on Tuesday that is going to come up in class workout. And now you've just put your body under load on Monday, put stress on your joints, and your body on Tuesday is in adaptation mode, trying to repair those tissues to then make progress. And instead you're going deeper into the hole on Tuesday and not allowing your body to recover and then make gains. So you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot a little bit, and it will be harder for you to make gains in the way that you want to because you're not optimizing them.
So a lot of things that we see is somebody will come into the gym. They will acknowledge that either it's the strength portion of CrossFit for me is very easy. So I need to start doing a lot of Metcon. What, because it's very easy to go out and you can target and say I'm lacking in lower body strength. I'm going to add a strength cycle, and I'm going to do it on this day and this day because I found this program on my own on the internet. It's a very different thing to go and say, I cardiovascularly or my metabolic conditioning is lacking. So I'm going to go start adding an extra workout that I found on Pinterest later today. How should somebody go about that? And how should you responsibly go about that process?
First of all, know where you're at in your fitness journey. So if you're new to the space, you just don't belong doing that yet, and that's okay. Instead, optimize your time in the CrossFit class. So if you feel like you have more in the tank when you leave, then are you going hard enough in your workouts in CrossFit? And if you are truly giving your all every day in CrossFit with reason, right? You're not going to absolutely sell your soul every single day. You just don't have the CNS capacity to do that. But if you're giving your best effort and you're still not feeling like you're doing enough, then also evaluate, is this gym the right place for you? What's their programming like? Because there are CrossFit gyms out there that maybe write their own programming or follow a different type of programming, and it might not be hitting all of the boxes for you. There are great CrossFit programs out there that mix strength and Metcons, and we have longer duration stuff. It's kind of a mix of everything if it's done well. So I'll use Mayhem Athlete as an example. We follow Mayhem Affiliate. Our 9-week cycle that we're in right now includes deadlifts and back squats as our primary 2 strength lifts. And then we incorporate power snatches or power and clean and jerks once a week for volume, right? So right now, if you're showing up to our classes, and we have a Metcon every single day. So if you're showing up to our classes and you feel like you're not getting stronger, we'll say said person, as example, is trying to get stronger for tactical games, which is definitely leg dominant. If you're showing up to our classes every week and you don't feel like you're getting stronger, then something's wrong with the way that you're approaching our classes. Whether it be effort, maybe you have the wrong 1RM numbers, maybe you're not bought in enough, maybe you don't know how to give more, but you can. You know what I mean? So if you're showing up and doing it well, you're getting what you need out of it.
One thing I have noticed, and this kind of goes a little bit against kind of what we want to be promoting for newer people that are in the space, but whenever you're doing, and I remember, God, whenever I started CrossFit, it was a long time ago now, like 8 years ago now. I remember we'd have max out day, right? Mm-hmm. And it was to find your 1 rep max so you can do percentages of it. Mm-hmm. And, I was coming off at that point a broken back and, a bunch of other stuff. So when I got into the gym, I would put 95 pounds on a bar and put on my back and literally feel like I had the weight of the world on my back, right? And a lot of it was mental, but then we did percentage work and it'd be like, all right, you're going to do like, we'll take today's percentages. You're going to do 10 at 55%. Well, doing 45 pounds, 10, it was nothing, right? So and you have to be honest with yourself and, always ask your coach, like, what should I feel like when this is done? Cause that is like RPE is the kind of harder way to explain percentage, but there's a stimulus or to kind of bring that word down a little bit. There's a feeling that you should have after your set is over. Right. So like today is 55% at 10. You're not supposed to be tired. That's kind of still a warm up priming. You shouldn't feel that set of 10 on I think the next set was 65% for 5. You shouldn't be on that 5 thinking that 10 took it out of you. Right. Like that 10 should literally be a 0 taxed, just warming up, priming the muscle sequencing, making sure you're getting your form on point, all that stuff. So like keep in mind that there's a stimulus that you're going for and hit that stimulus and don't just be like, I'm going to put more weight on the bar. But if you are new to lifting heavy weight, you are not lifting as much as you could. So there's a lot that goes into it. Like new people always shake a little bit. Well, when you're shaking, that is your brain trying to figure out what muscles to fire. And there's a lot of plasticity going on and your brain learning how to sequence the muscles in the movement that you're doing. And then once that's done, a month later, you're going to be lifting twice as much. And you didn't get any stronger, maybe a little stronger in that month. What happened is you learned how to use your muscles and you learned how to sequence your muscles. So if you are new or you haven't worked out in a long time, guy or girl, whatever, and you do that one heavy lift at a back squat and you back squat 135, I wouldn't shy away from, if it says 55%, just go ahead and use like 105, like 105 pounds of the 135, because you're not going to get anything out of putting 90 pounds on or 60, 75 pounds on the bar. So there is that, but the reason why CrossFit has coaches is to say, hey, what do you think about this today? And they'll be honest with you about it, right? Like they're going to tell you like, hey, I know that this percentage feels really light for you, but instead of this being a strength cycle for you, this is going to be a form cycle for you. So we are going to learn how to properly back squat. But if you're properly back squat and your number's just a little artificially low because you haven't lifted in a long time, then upping that percentage a little bit would be fine.
Right.
So that's a small percentage. And another thing is like everybody feels like they are that small percentage. Go ahead and just think that you're not that small percentage. That is a very small percentage of the population that is going to come in squatting correctly and can add a little bit to their percentage. But yeah, that's what going from what you were saying, is kind of like a caveat to that is if you're new, you're not going to know how to max out, and you're going to feel like you're maxing out, but that isn't your maximum potential.
If you have a great gym with some solid coaching, that's, like you said, that's the coach's job to help you tailor that day to you. And I have a couple of members in mind right now that I would say are more on the foundations of CrossFit, meaning one person specifically is older in age. Like, she's not going to max out because why would she? She has no reason to put that stress on her body, and she's here for health. Right. So like, I always change her lifting to 4 sets of 10 instead of building to a heavy 5. Why not? Right. Because she's working on range of motion and getting the movement down to feel good. And then I also have newer members that, like you said, they might not get enough out of their percentages, so you can up it a little bit. But I would say for the vast majority of the people in our gym, it's more advantageous to just trust the freaking process. You know what I mean? Because I'm thinking of young me coming into CrossFit, and I'm like, man, my 1RM isn't that high. And I felt bad about it. And I was like, those lighter weights were light for me. But like a 55%, I would be pissed if I saw that. Be like, oh, I'm going to add like 50 pounds to that. Right? I was that person. And I know there's a lot of people like me out there that are super eager to hit it. They want to lift heavy every day. So they're like, oh man, I'll just up the percentages a little bit. But like you said, there's adaptations that occur at those lighter percentages with great intention. You are learning how to muscle recruit on the highest levels that you can. Like you said, warm up set for our example today, 10 at 55%. You're just getting primed. That's not the set that matters. What matters is that last set, it was like 10, 5, 5, 5. So all that really mattered today was those last 2 sets of 5. And the one prior to the final really didn't matter that much. It was still kind of like a primer. That last set, it was a max set. 5+ is what it's written to be, right? So you're going to hit 5 at least. And then if you have more in the tank, you're going to push it there.
Like as much as you could with good form.
With good form, yeah. Stop being shy of form breakdown. So that the lead up prior, I think what people don't understand when they come in is like, it's not about always the volume of heavy weight, right? Like you need to hit this one set the best you can. And that is enough to get you a stimulus.
Right.
If you do it correctly.
Going in and artificially adding in. So let's say it's just like, I just found the tactical games and I need to get stronger. And I came in today and I looked at that set of 10. I'm like, man, screw that. I'm not doing 55%. I need to get stronger, and I'm healthy. I'm good. I'm not young now, but let's say I was 30 or 27 or 32. And instead of 65%, I'm like, yeah, I'm going to hit a set at 55%, but I'm really just going to do 85% and hit a 10 there. Right. And let's say you go all the way through it, and instead of 55, 65, 75, 85, you do 75, 85, 90, 92%, you know, like you're pushing up in there. What that new person, or maybe person that is just now really getting into the training so that they can do better, or get stronger, what that person doesn't realize is what were you supposed to do tomorrow? Right. So like now you have completely fried yourself on deadlifts today. And then when you show up tomorrow for the workout, you're trash. Right. So yeah, you got a lot of volume at heavy weight the day before, but what have you done? Like if you're looking at it over time, what have you done to yourself for the following day that compounds to the next day, that compounds to the next day? And like I take rest days on Thursdays, right? And then you come in on Wednesday and you're trashed for Monday and Tuesday. Then Wednesday, you're like, I got rest day tomorrow. I'm going to go hard again. Right. And then you go hard again. And then Thursday, your body is on like life support. And then you show up Friday and you're like, I should be good. You know, I'm a little bit sore and stiff, but yesterday was my rest day and Sunday is not too far away. So I'm going to hammer Friday and Saturday. And then your body's on life support going into Monday. And you just keep digging that hole and digging that hole. And next thing you know, you can't work out anymore because your knees are trash. And you have patellar tendinosis or your shoulder's bugging you. And, you know, so that's why it is very important to just buy in. And that's one, honestly, there are very few people in the world that should be programming for CrossFit gyms. Like, and I'm sure everybody that is listening to this goes to an amazing CrossFit gym that has an amazing programmer that is exactly who you need. But 90, I would say like 95% of the people that are programming for your gym probably shouldn't be programming for your gym. And then that's one of the reasons why, like we do Mayhem Athlete here at our gym, because I know that if I programmed, it would, whether I knew it or not, would be heavily biased to what I like to do.
Yeah.
So 90% of our workouts would include 65 to 75% weights of like what I think I could do. And then legs all day, every day.
Which is why you leave it to experts.
Right.
That literally spent a lifetime devoting their expertise to this craft
100%.
and to give you a great product.
Yeah.
Right. So, that's why we follow Mayhem Athlete, like you said.
Yeah. And it's because, and I tell you all the time, like I do the class workouts. I mean, you're the coach most of the time. I do the class workouts 5 days a week. And the reason why I do the class workouts is for general fitness and preparedness. In the sport that we compete in, we never know what's going to show up. And if I am training for what we're doing currently, then I'm never going to be ready for what happens next. But if I'm doing CrossFit programming that somebody else is doing like whole body programming for and keeping track of volume, and they know how progression should work, strength cycles should work, how to tailor the Metcons to that strength cycle, you're going to come out the other end much more well-rounded and healthy.
Which is the concept of like very gradual linear progression, opposite of the example person you use that come in just hot one day, and then high mountaintop day, and then absolute valley for a couple of days, high mountaintop. Those are, you know what I mean, like the people in that trend. If that's you, just cool it a little bit and come every day.
And it's
gradual progression.
And I was probably early on in the tactical games when I really started upping the volume. Like I went through, it was even after I bought the tactical games and wasn't competing as much or at all anymore. There was like a year and a half there that I didn't compete really. And I was still trying to get my knees right.
Yeah.
And my knees still are like, they're good now. But if I push it a little too hard for maybe I do 2 workouts in a couple of days that I probably push too hard in a certain, deep squat or jarring them a little bit or something, they remind me that I was dumb once and I messed up what was other healthy knees, like otherwise healthy. So the big thing that I see is that you learn after you're hurt a lot of the times what somebody should have been telling you from the beginning. And like CrossFit gyms, all kinds of gyms, HIIT fitness training gyms, whatever you want to do, F45s, they want you coming in the door every day. Right. So, a lot of the times they're not going to be like, hey dude, chill. Like you're not lifting anymore for a month. Like you need to get healthy, come in, stretch. While we are doing strength stuff, you're going to be over there in the corner doing mobility. And then once you're done with the mobility and we're done lifting, then you can come into the Metcon. And you're not going to go overhead because you don't lift your weights overhead correctly. You're going to stop at your shoulders. And once you are able to lift with your shoulders in the correct position, then we'll put you into the Metcon, like as it's written. They don't want to tell you that stuff because they don't want to get you butt hurt and quit the gym and go to somebody else that's going to let you do whatever you want to do and then get hurt later.
Right.
So the other thing that like you come in and let's say you just found the tactical games or you just found High Rocks or you just found fill in the blank CrossFit and you're going to be the next, CrossFit Games champion, right? Explain how your body adapts to volume over time and the progression that you have to go to so that you don't get hurt.
Yeah, I think volume over time just comes in small increments. So starting out with just a couple of days a week of doing something extra and seeing how your body adapts to that is a great start. And we use the example of you want to get stronger and do a back squat program. Say your gym doesn't do strength in their classes at all, and you want to do a back squat program. Hopefully the gym has something that you can look ahead at programming, and then be very mindful about when you place those workouts in, right? Because you're looking forward, okay, I'm going to do squats today because there's nothing that I do tomorrow is going to be leg dominant. So I have time to recover, something like that. So if you're going to get into that realm of adding extra in, you have to be your own thinker and you have to be analytical and aware of the entire week of what you're going to do. And that takes a lot of time. So evaluate for your life. Do you have the time to devote to giving a shit about this? Because it does take time. And if you don't, then probably not the spot for you to be in, or hire someone to do it for you, or follow a program that has more stuff to it because they lay it out in such a way that they take care of that stuff for you. You know what I mean? So you start small with a couple of days a week. And then if you adapt to that, which I would test it out for at least a couple of weeks to start out, 2 to 4 weeks, then add another day in. If you adapt to that, add a little bit more. And when I say add another day in or add a thing in, it's like something small to start. So if I'm coming from just doing a CrossFit class, like I'm going to add in one strength piece prior, like 2 days a week. And that's it. I'm not going to add in a full bodybuilding session 4 days a week today. Right. And like, that's a lot on my muscles, and I'm doing CrossFit on top of that. Like I'm taking it from 0 to 100. So just go to like 0 to 10, start small with one thing. And then if you do well with it, meaning you still can do all of the normal things you want to do, meaning you can show up to class as you did on your normal schedule. You're still okay in your life at home. You're not going to bed with pain every night or waking up in pain or whatever. If you're happy, you feel good, then add a little bit more. And it's just incremental like that over time. And these people that you see on Instagram or YouTube videos that are doing insane workouts all the time. I have Hebner in mind right now because he's recently doing something crazy. It was like 100 devil's press every day for a week straight, I want to say. Did you guys see that on his stories?
So his story did say that he was going to do like devil's presses every day for 30 days. But then I think like Danny Spiegel was like, Hebner's doing this, I'm going to do it. And then he copied it over to his stories. He was like, I didn't mean every day for 30 days. So I don't know what.
I think he said every day for a week because he was going to try to get it, whatever.
Or maybe like every week for a month he's going to do it. I don't know. But yeah, you would never do 100 devil's presses every day for a month. You would be, at the end of the month, you would be trash.
You'd be so trash.
Hebner might survive it, but it's because he has the training.
Yeah.
Right. And that's what I was going to say. So explain that. Right. Like,
so the way, and I've been trying to think of like a good way, even for a long time, I think a good way to explain, like you need to be thinking about that you are training your tendons to be resilient to what you're doing. So you're going to physically look different, after a year of just doing normal programming, right? Like you start noticing like, oh, my arms are getting bigger. My legs are getting bigger. Like, or I'm losing weight and I'm getting a little bit more toned. What you don't realize is that your tendons are also breaking down and repairing. And that's something that you don't see. Like you don't go like, dang, Jake, your tendons are looking big, but your tendons, healthy tendons is what keeps you in the game.
Yeah.
Right. So like everything that we see, I rarely, like knock on wood, but I rarely see muscle tears that are somebody's prohibiting thing, like, oh, I can't do this because I tore my bicep, or I can't do this because I tore my fill in the blank. It's always like I have tendonitis and then it's in my elbow, or, I have a tennis elbow, or I have patellar tendinosis, or I have, plantar fasciitis, or I have and it's because your muscles will adapt way faster than your tendons will. And the thing about tendons is it comes on very slow, and you don't realize it's happening. Like one day you'll wake up and you're like, my knee's a little stiff, and then you're at work and you're sitting still for a little while, and like you've been sitting still for like an hour, and you're like, pop, and your knee gives you a little pop when you straighten it out. And you're like, that's weird. I'm like, must be something. And then 2 weeks later, it hurts a little bit, but then when you're working out, it feels fine. That's step one. Right, and that's literally like phase one or level one. I forgot how they grade them or whatever. But level one is like you have you notice that something's going on in your tendon, but then once you've warmed up and start working out, it goes away. And then like an hour afterwards, it gets a little stiff again. Well, tendinosis is setting in, right? Like it's on its way in. And then level 2 is like you're working out and that pain never kind of completely goes away, but it's tolerable and it's all that stuff. And that's when typically somebody will say something like, oh, my shoulder's kind of hurting a little bit, or my knee is hurting a little bit, whatever. But newer people tend to be like, I'll be all right. I've always been all right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But if you keep pushing it, you're not going to be all right.
Right.
And there is great gains and knowledge that can be had by overcoming one of those injuries. And like doing, like one thing I would say for programming, if I'm looking to get a bigger back squat, one thing that I would add, let's say in class you do back squats on Monday, right? Or let's say Tuesday, random day, doing back squats on Tuesday, but I'm on a back squat program. It's like, okay, just hit the back squats. And if you need, like, ask your coach first, but if you're on some kind of program and it's going to take the same amount of time that the class is doing, just be like, hey, I'm on a program. Can I do this during the time? And I don't know, as long as you're not trying to get me to wait on you to start the Metcon 15 minutes later, like that's fine. If it's going to take the same amount of time, do it. But if you plan on squatting again, or you want to do the class squats and you have something else, like instead of forcing that in that week, do lifting accessories for your back squat, right? So like put some back in the tank by doing lifting accessories that are going to make your knees healthy and like prepare your body for the next week and gain strength in those areas that you need to gain it in. But that's kind of the progression that you see coming in. Is the first thing somebody will start saying, you know, like, they kind of do this thing, but they don't want to say anything, you know, and immediately when you start noticing something isn't feeling right, shut it down. Don't push it. And I've explained to a couple of the members that we have is like, if you look at your fitness journey over the length of a year or over the length of the 2 years, if you buy into a good program and you stick to it and you don't destroy yourself along the way, and if you have, like, we've done squat cycles before and gotten 7 weeks into a 12-week program, and it's like my knee hurts. And I've done it in the past. Push through it, stretch more, do whatever, just push through, finish it. That's what got me into 3 years of patellar tendinosis. But the responsible thing to do at that point is be like, I'm not ready for this, and stop the program where it's at. Start hitting accessories. Tell the coach what you have going wrong with you. Start doing rehab for it. Get your knee back right, or your hips back right, or your back, like whatever it is. Get that right again. When you've recovered, maybe instead of starting back at the beginning of the program, start like 4 weeks into the program, ramp back up into where you were going, and then continue the program and finish it. But if you stop when you notice something and rehab it and then get back into it, now you've rehabbed it. Hopefully you're recruiting the muscles that you need to recruit, and like the reason why it was hurting isn't hurting anymore. But you've made it through the end of the program. You've now corrected a deficiency that was about to cause an injury, and you can keep training, right? And then at the end of that 2 years, you're going to be significantly stronger and significantly more prepared, because you were willing to be like, I'm not taking a step back. I'm just going to take a step out real quick to get this right, or get my mobility right, or get whatever it is, so that, because that's going to hurt. If it didn't hurt you this squat cycle, it's going to hurt you the next one. And so you might as well knock it out now. And like, I wish I had that voice 5 years ago in my ear telling me to stop and like, hey, get your stuff right, because you're about to cause big problems. But you know, I was in a spot where they wanted me working out, and I kept doing it because I didn't know
also
any better.
feel like as competitors, a lot of us seek out hard things. We like hard things. Maybe we have that inner conversation with ourselves of like, am I being a bitch right now? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you're like, no, I'm fine. I can just keep pushing through.
Yeah.
And it's really, really hard to third person yourself, meaning third person point of view yourself, and be like, you know, step out of what you're feeling. Because obviously you want to do squats. You want to hit it hard, whatever it is, right? You're eager to do this. That's why you're doing it. And it's super hard to be able to set that aside and like look at yourself objectively and be like, and make the decision for yourself, taking the emotions out of like, am I being soft right now?
It's like, is tomorrow Jared going to like this idea? Like it's always a good thing to think, like, is next month Jared going to be happy with the volume that I'm putting on my fill in the blank right now?
Yeah.
But yeah, that's definitely feel it on the turning off the competitor inside of you and like the push through it. Because that's what, like, every top level competitor has a psychotic part of their brain that will not stop and will break before they stop, right? You have to depart yourself from that person. You have to be the guy that is managing yourself to get yourself in the best position that you can a year from now or 2 years from now, and shut off that psychotic part of your brain. And like, not only new people, but like what the last 2 months, not 2 months, probably the last 3, 4, 5 weeks, I've been intentionally adding in a workout, because I don't work out twice a day every day for year round, or 2 or 3 times a day. For the last 4 or 5 weeks, like, I started coming in and doing 2 extra workouts a week, right? Then that next week I felt like trash, so I just went back to one workout a week again, and then came back, add in 2 workouts. That felt good. Next week, add in 2 workouts plus maybe some accessory stuff. That felt okay. The next month or the next week, added in 3 extra, or like came in and did on the minute stuff with like tackle game specific things, and felt like trash again. So I backed it back off and like kept reading how I feel based on how much volume I can add. Because like, even after 8 years and learning it and having the training volume and like the tendons that can handle it and the body that can handle it, you still can't just go from like, not off season, but like a maintenance phase of like 80-85% of potential to 100%. And what, like, I'm turning it on Monday and I'm, pushing through all the way. So, there's even like, for seasoned people, there's a way to like add the volume back in, and it's not just like Monday, it's go time.
Right.
So, because we've talked about it, but I've talked, especially now, like I'm 38, about to be 39. I feel like for a lot of years, I was way more fit than I am now, but I wasn't able to show that level of fitness because I was always hurt somehow. And when I am healthy but not as fit, I can push way harder, especially in a competition, because my brain isn't like putting the governor on my fitness to protect itself. Like, I can just go.
Yeah.
And it's important to always like maintain that level of health. So maybe if you're getting into it and you want to start adding volume, what is, like, from your perspective and what you've seen a lot of people do, like what would be the most responsible way to, I've been doing CrossFit 3 to 4, maybe 5 times a week for 3 years. And I want to go from mid-level tactical division or like maybe RXing a workout or 2 a week that I can do, to like doing RX workouts every day. And like being able to have the capacity to do that, or tactical game specific, like going from the tactical division to the elite division. How do I responsibly go about doing that?
Yeah. I mean, that's super dependent on who you are and what your strengths and weaknesses are, I think. So sitting down with someone that knows you, knows your fitness would be helpful, especially someone that has some knowledge, like your coach. And if you don't have a coach in the sport, then maybe seek out someone who is where you want to be and ask them for their advice on how they got there. And if you're talking about like what programs you do, like how do you find...
How would I like responsibly add volume in? So like, let's say I got a garage gym, but I go to the CrossFit gym too, and I'm going to start adding volume in. Like what does that process
like? What
look
workouts
like?
do you do?
Yeah.
How do you choose?
Right.
How do you blend programs?
Right.
Probably just take a bunch of Instagram workouts and at random.
100%.
Find your favorite person on
Whatever
Instagram.
you found somebody on Instagram do, like, and other people are tagging people in it, just hammer down. Pick that workout.
Those are all the good ones, just to add it on top of everything else.
I laugh about that because we have this conversation, because I myself like to do Instagram workouts sometimes are just fun, you know, like, and it's a little bit of a
she'll send me one. What about this?
For the soul thing, or like it inspires me. It gives me a good idea, and I'm like, man, that's exciting. Like, I want to try that. Yeah. But I have to hold myself back a little bit and be like.
But it's also fine if you look at the week of programming and you're like, okay, it's a bench workout.
He's picking on me here.
Yeah, it's fine. Jake has jacked up knees right now,
so all the bench workouts.
He's doing bench workouts. But let's say it's a bench workout. Monday we have total 70 burpees. Right, that's not bench press. I'm good. I'm gonna do 70 burpees in the morning, and I'm gonna do Jake's bench workout in the afternoon because burpees aren't bench press,
right?
But it is pressing, and you're using your chest muscles, and you're using your elbows, and you're using all that other stuff, and you're gonna have shoulder problems if you continue doing that. Not the first time, but the 14th time,
right?
Yeah.
Right. So
unless you're really conditioned for it,
right?
And
so
also, what are the days to follow?
That's exactly. So what if you want to add in a workout like at our gym? The entire week is posted at 8-ish, 9 o'clock, whatever on Sunday. If you want to add in a cool workout that you saw, look at the whole week and say, okay, when am I using my hands? And I'm trying to explain it like if they're just listening and watching it, but like pressing forward or pressing up or pressing. And if I have no pressing the day before or the day after, hammer down on the bench. Like you go for
full
it.
send.
You're fine. You're going to be fine. But if you have extremely heavy clean and jerks on Tuesday and you want to hit this workout on Wednesday, maybe don't do it, right? Because you're pressing way overhead, and a lot of them shoulder muscles, arm muscles, your elbows, your wrists, all that other stuff, it's a pressing movement. And now you've put a pressing movement right before another pressing movement. But more so, like the way that I go about it is like here probably I've already kind of started, but like I need to start getting it's like 3 months out from, or what, 12, 11
plus,
weeks,
something like that.
So it's about time to get serious about it. What I usually do is I look at the week's programming, I look at what I need to work at, then I go in and I look how I can fit in what I need to be working on into that week in the most responsible way. So if I need to work on pressing strength, for example, I'm going to look for maybe a 2 or 3 day window, or maybe like Wednesday doesn't have any pressing, and I know that Thursday is going to be my rest day. I'll put it in on that, a pressing day on that day. So that way I know the next day is my rest day. And then even if there is pressing on Friday, I've had a rest day, right? And I know I'm not going to maybe be 100% for that on Friday, but I'll be 95% for it. Like I'm not going to hit a PR on Friday, but I'm still good. And that was a good time to put it in. And like, if I'm really bad at running and I'm going to put, cause I am, and I want to put running in, like I need to look at the volume that's the day before and the day after and look. So I will have, it's kind of like pieces on a board, and you need to fit those pieces into that week and make sure that you're not having anything that's conflicting in there. And one thing about CrossFit gyms is that your CrossFit coach is your general coach. They're not your personal trainer, right? So like in the hour that you're in there, they are responsible for all 8 to 15 people that are in the class, and they're going to give you cues on how to get better. And then they are also going to keep you from getting hurt, right? But they're not your personal trainer, because a personal trainer is going to spend an hour hawking over every movement that you do and all that stuff. So there is a separation between, like there's a certain point where you have exited the umbrella of what a CrossFit coach is responsible for, and you start entering into what a personal trainer does. And a lot of the CrossFit coaches will do personal training and they will write a program for you. But it's important to understand that's not part of your CrossFit membership, is to have each coach be your personal trainers while you're in there.
It's a very good point.
So like, and I've fallen into it before where, you know, you start helping somebody and next thing you know, you're their personal trainer. But they are there to make sure that you're not going to get hurt, that you're moving with good integrity, and then also make you better incrementally over time. Right. And it's, you know, we've had people that come in and join the gym and we say, hey, look, like might need some personal training to help on this, or, you know, let's work on this until you have this foundation down and then push into doing more stuff. However, so all that to say, if it becomes more than just like questions, it would be a really good idea to ask the coach if they do like programming, if they wouldn't, you know, if can I pay you to do programming for me, that I'm going to do stuff outside. This is my goal. This is what I need to work on. This is where I'm deficient. Can you write some programming for me that fits into the day-to-day CrossFit workout? But that's when you enter into the personal training realm. And that's when also like it's taking a lot of their time and they need to be compensated for the time. And then also movement stuff. Like if you're not happy with the progression that you're making in CrossFit because the coach keeps saying, like, hey man, we're not going overhead today because our shoulders are rolled forward, you're pressing wrong, and you know the integrity of your shoulder is going to be compromised if you keep doing that, so we're going to stop at the shoulders. But so that we get a little bit better today while we're warming up, this is what I want you to work on, right? To like try and work on your form a little bit. If you're not happy with that progression, it might be time to like ask the coach before or after class, like, hey, I'd really like to come in and get some personal training hours in so I can learn how to do this correctly and start being able to do that in the workout. So there is definitely, I was explaining to somebody the other day that the CrossFit is amazing, but CrossFit is also group class and you can't be solely focused on one person the entire time. And then another kind of phenomena that you have in CrossFit is that people start and they need a lot of correction, right? So you're over there and you're like, hey, you know, do this. This is what it needs to feel like. This is what it needs to feel like. Do this squat to here. And then just about every day you're giving them cues. You're doing this. And then they start getting better. And it's like a year down the road, they've gotten better and they're doing it. And then they feel like you've given up on them and you're not coaching them anymore. But you're saying stuff to them every now and then, right? Like, hey, good job on that. Or, hey, make sure that you're keeping your back tight when you're doing this. But you're not giving them like 9 cues that day. Or it's not a good idea to give 9 cues, but you're not giving them a significant amount of attention anymore. It might be because you're moving right. And it's not that they don't care about you. It's that now they have the same version of you in the class just a year before on the other side of the gym, and they need to get that person right and up to a certain level to where they can do the workouts right. So it's not that they don't care about you anymore or they're not coaching you anymore. It's you might actually just be doing it right. And, you know, like high five, good job.
Right.
You know, so that is also important to keep in mind is like somebody may not have quit coaching you. You might just be doing it right. And it's a group class. And usually the people that are doing things that might end up in an injury, like they're going to get the first look and more attention, especially, I mean, you've said a couple of things to me in classes over the last couple of years, but like, I don't expect somebody to come up to me and be like, hey dude, you're doing this and this and this. And if Jake's working out in my class, Jake could teach the class. And if I was doing something wrong, I would expect him to tell me. And if he does something and I'm like, dude, your right shoulder's like 3 inches under your left shoulder and you're about to blow your shoulder out, that's the kind of cues I'm going to give to him.
Yeah.
But I don't have much to say to Jake.
Yeah.
You know, like, hey, your back squats look great today, Jake. And he's be like, you're dumb. Don't talk to me. You know, like, so those are like the different things that end up happening, like especially in the CrossFit gym space. But whenever you start but you're requiring a lot of time that is like above and beyond everybody else in the class, that's really when you probably should start like a personal training relationship with one of the coaches and come in after hours, because it doesn't take long. Like if you have an hour to work on technique with something, you're going to make months worth of like an advance on movement. Especially if you come in for like 2 or 3 weeks and do the same thing. But kind of to like what we're talking about is if you're coming in and you're new, try and get a coach to help you outside the gym with your volume. And you're like, oh, it's another, I don't know what people charge for programming and stuff, but like $60, $100, $120, $150, whatever it is not enough money for the amount of work that they're going to do and the amount of hurt and heartache that they're saving you from doing it yourself. Right.
Yeah.
Well, not only that, like not only the time you're going to spend trying to do it yourself, but you may and will likely do it wrong and will injure yourself. And then now you're sitting on the sideline in injury instead of just paying the
It's
money.
the question of what cost do you want to incur? Do you want the cost of paying the coach, or do you want the cost of the time you will spend trial and erroring it out for yourself and the potential injury that might come with that? And if you're an experienced person, you already have a lot of knowledge about fitness and you've been doing this quite some time, then the cost would be your time and effort. And do you have the time and effort to put into looking at the week's worth of programming, finding workouts that fit the progress that you want to make, whether it be strength cycle or whatever, running cycle, whatever. Do you have the time to look at the week, come up with those workouts, and put them in intentionally in a way that is going to make you progress over time? Because either option is going to cost you something. Where?
And some of the stuff may surprise you, right? Like we've all talked about this, but if I watch somebody pick up a sandbag and they're like, hey, in this competition I have to pick up a 150-pound sandbag and I'm really stuck right now on doing that. If I'm training you, like personally training you, I'm going to warm you up. We're going to go over the sandbags. We're going to start, and I'll probably look for sticking points. And then I'm going to try and figure out a path forward from there to strengthen those sticking points to where you can lift it more seamlessly. Or if you're sticking points from the ground to your hips, how do we do that? And a lot of what you might do is going to surprise you, right? So the first thing that I would do is like, all right, put the sandbag up. Let's go get a barbell. And, we're going to do deficit deadlifts with our hands, like snatch grip deficit deadlifts. And we're going to learn how to pick up stuff that is closer to the ground in a stable and predictable way and build a strength foundation from there. And after 4 or 5 weeks, we're going to go back over that bag. And then when you do that and you go back over to the bag's going to fly off the ground.
Right.
Right. Because you built the strength that was needed. And then like good mornings, reverse hyper, like all kind, just to strengthen your posterior chain to get it up. And you may not even touch a bag for 4 weeks, but then the next time you touch it, it's flying. You know what I mean? So the way that somebody may teach you how to pick up heavy sandbags or farmer's carries and the way that they might go around doing that may look completely different than you would think. And like good coaches are going to show you that. So that's another thing is like you may just start banging your head against the wall with a 150-pound bag, struggle busting 3 times a week trying to do it, and it's just not working right. And then your back hurts because you didn't have the foundational strength. Or you could have just paid a guy or gal $100 to like ride a 4-week strength cycle to get you to pick up a sandbag and saved you a lot of time. It got you there in a month and you didn't get hurt. So kind of the last thing is we've all done it. You've done it. I know you've done it. Janae has 100% done it, is sat down with somebody and said, please stop doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
Right. And like, I wouldn't say only good coaches are going to have that conversation with you. Like, I'm sure all kinds of coaches will have that conversation with you. Somebody that cares about you and cares about your journey and your fitness and cares about you getting better is going to tell you to stop. Right. They're not telling you to stop because they don't want you to work out. They want you to work out. They're not telling you to stop because they're trying to stunt your growth as an athlete or whatever.
Right.
Like they've been there, like if I could go back, and I always tell people, like, if I could put you in my brain for a second and just give you all the information that I have and like the history that I have in training, you would see just like a massacre of injuries that could have been prevented if you just please listen to me right now and stop doing what you're doing.
Right.
And so if you do have a coach that not sits you down, but like it starts with jokes. That's the way I always, and like I've heard you do it to some people, and I don't know what you do, but you probably just stare at people.
What are you doing?
It starts with jokes with me, right?
Yeah.
But it's like a little bit of an edge on it. Like,
Yeah.
hey man, what's your chiropractor's name? But you get in there and if a coach starts saying something like, hey, you should probably slow down, because something like that, like they're gently telling you like, hey, stop, you're going to get hurt. I know You don't know you in 3 weeks, but I
Right.
do. I know exactly who you are in 3 weeks. You're the guy that needs to go to the bathroom at night and stands up and falls on the ground because like shooting back pain or whatever. So they're not stunning growth. They're trying to get you to your goal faster by like putting the brakes on and helping you out. So definitely when you have a coach trying to put the brakes on for you, take the advice. Don't do it. Right. And if it's coming in and it's like, hey, I'm thinking about doing this program, and they talk to you and they're like, you've been working out for a year and a half. And something that you and I talked about the other day was who is too good for the class workout and who actually needs more volume than what the class workout is providing. The top 5%.
Yeah.
Right. And even the top 5% doesn't need that all year. Right.
Seasons for everything.
Right. So like there are seasons, there are cycles, there are things that you need to go through, recovery cycles, deload weeks, like all kinds of stuff. At our gym, we might have a handful that might actually need more than what not need, but could, if they wanted, do more than is what the daily workouts are, right? Like I say a handful because I think you can probably count them on one hand. Maybe.
Yeah, I got 5.
Yeah.
Maybe
5,
6.
Maybe 6. So that's where like first what I would look to is the intensity that you're putting into the workouts during the week. Yep. Right. And am I in the top 2 or 3 in the class every day? And that's first, right? And if you find yourself that you're in the top 2 or 3 of the class, 2 or 3 of the whole gym every day, your fitness is getting there. You're getting pretty high up there, and it might be time, like if you wanted to, and you have goals that are other than just to be fit and healthy, but if you have goals of competing or you have goals of, a certain milestone that you've set that you want to get to, then you can probably start adding in stuff. But I would say most people that I see that want to add stuff do not need to be adding stuff.
I would agree.
So, and it's an extremely like, as much as you want to succeed, your coaches want to see you succeed, right? And it is a extremely hard and awkward conversation to have with somebody when you're like, hey man, don't cool off your jets. You don't need to be doing that stuff. Like put more effort into the daily workouts, or like sprinkle something in at first, but don't do a whole program.
Right.
That kind of thing.
Yeah, coaches definitely want you in class. It's more fun to have big classes. Everybody has more fun. Members have more fun. Coaches have more fun in big classes. It's really awkward when there's 2 people in the room.
Yeah.
And you're doing this because the other 7 that used to come to class are injured and sitting on the sideline right now.
And also, I guarantee everyone in the gym at that moment would probably get more out of whatever they're doing if they did it together against each other with competition and like in good-hearted like banter with each other and stuff too. I think the most loving thing that we can do as coaches too sometimes is be the one that delivers that truth, because I know that I feel like it's easier for guys to do that, but as a female, I don't know. I just feel like it's a little bit tough for me sometimes to like be the one that says the truth. You know what I mean? Like I don't want to say that, especially to like grown men, for example, right? But I think if you are on the coaching side of things too, or you're a friend of someone at the gym that you see this happening to them, like you have to have the strength to tell them the truth too, and that is loving.
Yeah. I mean, I can recall a time where there was somebody like a 30-ish-year-old female that competes in the tactical games that needed to be told she needs to slow down a little bit and maybe focus on some different kinds of training. Just hypothetical situation. I kind of forgot what her name was, but and then like have her stare through the back of your head and like shooting lasers at you. Yeah. And you're like, I started sweating. She started staring. Yeah. And I was like, you need to stop. And that's when the pie analogy came out. And I was like, what part of what you did today made you better at the sport that you want to be good at?
Nothing in this circle.
In summary, take it from us because we have exhausted all of the ways that you could fail.
Yeah. Yeah.
in coming to
100%.
this.
So, definitely it is a hard and awkward conversation to have with somebody to tell them to slow down. And then I would say like overall, like in summary, to like land the plane, because it's awkward to even kind of talk about when you, because you know somebody's going to be listening and they're like, he was talking about me, and maybe I was, but
It's me. I'm thinking.
but
That.
like even like in the sport that you and I both compete in, right? I have seen people come into the sport on fire, and then a year and a half later, they can barely do their job at work because they didn't listen to the 7 guys that were like, dude, chill out. Like, you are going to be barely walking. And then sure enough, they leave, they blame the sport, they blame Olympic lifting, they blame all this other stuff. But what they never mention is the 8 guys that were telling them to stop, right? Or like, hey, dude, this doesn't look right. Your clean is garbage. And you're ripping the thing off the ground, you're breaking your back in half, you're not catching it correct, and then you're clean and jerk. Like the jerk is, I'm surprised you've survived this long. Like, you need to stop. And like, I have told somebody in the past, you need to go to a CrossFit gym. He hated CrossFit. He did not want to talk CrossFit. His brain shut off. I'm not talking to you about it. Where I was like, dude, don't go to CrossFit. Go to the CrossFit gym. Ask if they have any coaches that do personal training, and say that you want Olympic lifting lessons for a month and work on clean and jerk and maybe snatches, or clean and jerk and deadlift, or clean and jerk and squat. And just every CrossFit gym in the world, if you walk in and ask for personal training, they're not going to turn you down. There is a coach there that will do it. And if somebody tells you like, hey man, squats are looking like, is there anybody in your area that you could have look at that and like in person help you out a little bit? Do it. Like, do not keep doing it. Do not look on YouTube. Do not video yourself. Go find somebody to help you out. Cause I mean, it really sucks. Like, even with like the tactical games, it sucks seeing some of these guys come in and just get completely messed up. And like, some of it is lasting injuries that will never go away.
Right.
And it wasn't because somebody wasn't trying to say something.
Sure.
Like, there was somebody in everybody's group. And like, to that end, if you're a coach, experienced competitor, experienced whatever, and you see one of your friends going down that path, say something to them.
Yeah.
Because you want that person to be there in 3 or 4 years doing the thing that you love with you, right? So like, a good friend will stop you. A good coach will stop you. Somebody who is not your friend, they may be friendly with you, but if they see something and they don't say something to you, like, they didn't care enough to say something to you.
Right.
So like, give a little bit of grace to somebody if they're trying to stop you, because they're the ones that care about you. Right. So, anyway, the moral of the story is that it is a slow process over time, and you should be having goals set over years, not weeks or months or whatever, and seek out professionals to help you out and get opinions, right? So like, even if somebody writes a program and you look at it, shoot it over to somebody else and say, hey, my coach has, like, my CrossFit coach wrote this program for me to combine with this. Can you look at it and spend a second looking at it to see if this is something that might be good for me, and get another opinion on it too. So anyway, that is our
Rant over.
rant on
Training volume part 3.
we really, really want you to be healthy. We really, really want you to be super fit.
Yeah.
And we really want you to take the appropriate amount of time to make sure all that happens. Right. So
Each one about training has just gotten longer and longer and longer and longer. I think the first one was like 25 minutes, and it was like 28 minutes, and now it's an hour.
yeah. But I mean, we've all seen it. You've seen it, Jake.
Yeah,
you
man.
You owned a gym.
Yeah.
I mean,
We saw people come in, and they would be coming from whatever background. We had a lot of runners in Fort Worth. The Trinity Rivers in Fort Worth, there's a lot of people that run out there. So we would get a lot of runners that would come in, and they're adrenaline junkies, man. They just want to do what's hard and fast, and getting a runner at my old gym, getting a runner to slow down and like squat properly and, you know, do the stuff at a pace that is safe, but also moving with purpose, and you're going to be able to complete things. Standing all the way up on a box rather than jumping on, jumping off, jumping on, jumping off, because it's fast. Jump on, jump off, jump on, jump off, jump on. So, I had it from a little bit different perspective, but yes, you have to incorporate things in correctly, and then whenever you're starting to add in the volume, it's got to be pieced in. Not only does it need to be pieced in volume-wise per week, spaciously, so you're accumulating it slowly, but then also what you're doing as far as the movements go based on if you're at squats, upper body, whatever it is, mixing that properly. But I agree. You can go to pretty much any CrossFit gym in the nation and ask for help for personal training of Olympic lifting and squatting, and that even just say, hey, I need to get some strength training in that involving some Olympic lifting, and you will be able to do that pretty much anywhere.
Yeah. You can still hate CrossFit afterwards.
Yeah, you can. You don't have to do CrossFit. Just tell them that you want to get strength training in and you need help Olympic lifting, and you'll be fine.
That's, but once you go in the gym, you're not going to leave.
You'll
leaving. Like who it is. But go into it with the mindset of I hate CrossFit today, and I'm going to hate CrossFit once I'm done with all this stuff. But you can still get a coach that likely is versed in what they're teaching and is going to teach you how to safely lift weights. And then you'll become part of the system, and you'll find yourself staying at the gym and you'll make friends. And then pretty soon you're going to start saying stupid words like box and WOD and different things. I still won't say
PR.
Yeah. I still won't say either one of those words. All right. I think that kind of covers it.
Yeah, I think that's it.
That's it.
This is the podcast that everybody needs to listen to that nobody will listen to.
Yeah, this one's that's good. That's the title for it. Yeah, that's good.
They're gonna get into it, and it's gonna get personal, and then they're gonna be like,
and
done. I hate those people.
Right. I guarantee you, 80% of the people that listen to this at some point during the podcast is gonna. He's fucking talking about me, man. He's talking about me. I know he is. I know he's talking about me.
I think I felt that way.
How does he know that about
several
me?
points.
How does he know
100%
that?
was talking about you.
Yeah, we were talking about you for sure. He looked at me and was like, I know.
Yeah, I know. We've already had this conversation a couple times.
There's going to be two different kinds of people that listen to this. One kind of person that's like, that 100% I know what you're talking about, because likely there's some kind of coach or whatever, and they're like, yep, I know the people and I have their names in my head. And then there's going to be the other people that are like, he's talking about me.
Yeah.
Or that's what I did, and my coach said I need to chill out, and I did, and I got hurt.
I'm gonna go hit this Instagram workout.
Yeah. But anyway, back to the Instagram bench workouts.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, listen, if you're seriously training for a sport, 30-second rant. If you're seriously training for a sport and you want to be the best in your sport, you better be able to just swipe past those Instagram workouts and know that this isn't part of your goal.
Right.
Because maybe 0.5% of those workouts might fit in correctly and be something that you need to do.
Right.
So true.
Ran over. That was 15 seconds.
Yeah, it was solid.
And occasionally they're just fun and a good community builder, but
which is why I throw them out there.
Janae's
Because
excuse.
they're always good.
yeah.
Janae's excuse is it's for my soul. It's not for your soul. Your soul is fine. Your
If I
soul's
did-
going to be fine.
If I did all of the
Your
things
knee
I was
isn't.
supposed to
Yeah.
that week.
Man, I wish I could
I'm just
play
kidding.
that statement back every now
It's
and
for
then.
my soul. It's not for your soul. Your soul's fine. And your soul's going to be better.
Anyway, soul, peace out.
Bye.
Later.